Thanks Tony, and hi, welcome to my allotment. Today I want to talk to you about digging. I know a lot of you are well versed in the art of digging. You've probably had your allotments or gardens for years, but it's a job that nearly every gardener has to do unless you're employing the no-dig methods. Primarily this video today is sort of aimed at people that have maybe just taken on a new allotment, not too sure where to start, what to do, how to do it. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through the A to Z of how we dig the soil, get it ready. It's mid-October, it's an ideal month for getting up your allotment and getting it all prepped up ready for next season. So the first thing you've got to do is look at the ground you're going to work at. Now this bit of the plot had all my summer cabbages in, etc. I took it on last year, it was in a right state, so I know that there's a lot of weed seeds still in the soil. Obviously there was a germination this year. All this here is all freshly germinated. You can't dig through that like that. You've got to get that foliage off before you can get to the root systems below. So we use one of these, and that's a hoe. Basically 10 minutes of hoeing is worth 3 hours on your knees, believe me. So all we do with that is get it down that way up on the soil. It's got a cutting edge along the front here. Make sure you keep that nice and sharp, it makes it so much easier. And just gently push it over the soil. Like so. Okay, so if I then turn it over, just pull that away, all this foliage, like so. Nice and clean. That's ready to start digging. Okay, so this is the bed that I want to be digging and sorting out ready for these onions this year. I had my sweet corn in here this year. I did dig it, so I know that it's not too bad for weed. I do know there is a bit of bindweed in there. This is where the old compost heap was, and because it hadn't been moved for years, the bindweed really got established, and it is difficult to get rid of. The roots go very deeply. So what do? Well, as I said, it's not too bad at the moment. There's two different tools obviously we're going to use for digging. One is the good old spade and the other is the fork. Now both of these are great tools for digging. The advantage with the spade is it's very efficient at moving lots of soil really quickly. It's great if the ground is pretty soft, which I've got, I'm lucky. The disadvantage is if you're digging in hard soil, heavy clay, it's quite hard to push that blade in. The other disadvantage with the spade is that if you're digging on a plot that's been neglected for quite a while, this is going to cut straight through those roots, especially like couch grass, and you want to be able to pull them out as complete as possible. You don't really want to be chopping them up. That's why it's very important not to just go straight in with a rotavator first time out, because you really are going to create yourself a problem. For me personally, I prefer the fork. The advantage with the fork is, alright, it's not as efficient as moving soil. It's very easy to push in the ground, and it tends to just sort of go each side of the roots, and it doesn't really damage them too much. So we'll have a go over to where we're going to start, and I'll show you both methods of doing it, and then hopefully I should be able to get this done. It's pretty clean. It isn't going to take me too long. Incidentally, if this plot was like in a bad way and you've only just taken it on, I would expect you probably only to get maybe that dug in about 3 or 4 hours. It really does take that long, especially if you've got a lot of weed in there, which you will have. For me, this is probably 10 foot by 8 feet. It's going to take a couple of hours to dig it over, clean it, and pull out as much of the root as I can see. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cut with the spade just a trench through here and throw all the spoil up onto the top. I've just started this off a little bit more up this end. That's going to give us a nice flat edge to be able to dig in nice straight rows and get that spoil up onto the heap. So we're going to work backwards. Okay, I'm going to start off by showing you with the spade and how we do that. It's, like I said, it's a very efficient tool. There's not too much in this ground. I do know there's a lot of bindweed and I know there's a little bit of couch grass left in it, but overall it's not too bad. So I should be able to get this bit done. It's about 6-7 feet wide by about 10 feet deep. If this is say it's a plot that you've just taken on and it's in a pretty bad way, you're going to have a lot of roots underneath the ground. Even if you've hoed it off, it's going to take you a long time. I would imagine you're probably only going to be able to dig half of this in about 3 or 4 hours to clean it properly. So do take your time with this bit. Don't do yourself an injury either. Right, let's get cracking. So I'm going to go out. I'll be out of shot for this because obviously I can't stand up and dig at the same time. Right, so the first bit is I'm going to take a cut that way, then a cut that way, and I'm going to turn that over and it'll just fall apart. I mean, I have got very, very good soil, to be fair. Like I say, if it's clay, these lumps will be a lot bigger. And another cut, and another cut. I'm going to turn it over, like so. Huge bit of bindweed down in there. I'll see if I can get that out. Trouble is with bindweed, it goes really deep, and no matter how much you pull it out, you'll never get rid of it, not unless you chemically treat the stuff. I know that's not for everyone, but unfortunately that's the truth of the matter. Couch grass, a lot easier to deal with. Right, so that's that first bit done. So one cut that way, well the first bit is a cut that way, a cut that way and a cut that way. And that's how you start on the next row. So there's the first one, second one, third one. Turn it over, give it a knock. Next one. Turn it over, pull out any bits that you see. Right, so that's the spade. Fork, same thing. You don't need to do the sideways one with the fork. So basically, straight in, dig it over. Oh, look at that lot. We'll have all of that out, because these are just going to grow again next year. So, like I say, the more you do it, the less weed you're going to have season on season. However, I am turning this soil over, so I'm going to be inevitably bringing new seeds to the top, to near the surface, so roll on the weeding next year. Right. So you can see the fork's very efficient. I'll have that out as well. Okay. Something quite satisfying about pulling this type of weed out though. Gives you the sense you're sort of winning the battle. Okay, so running out of time today. Just managed to turn this bit over now. Now, if you're not planning on planting anything in this over winter, you can just leave it as is. These big clods of earth like this, they will break down over the winter on their own. Just the action of being repeatedly frozen and thawed out, it just breaks them apart. And all you'll need to do with this is a light digging over next spring. Remove any little tiny weeds that have popped up over that time. There won't be many at all, and then you're good to go. If you are, another way you can do it as well is certain people tend to cover these. Once they've dug it like this, they'll cover it over with black plastic. That's fine. The only thing is, and I was speaking to a lot of experienced gardeners, let's say, it becomes a bit of a home for slugs. They just crawl underneath it, breed under there. They're protected from birds and everything else that's going to, hedgehogs can't get at them. So there's pros and cons to everything. Anyway, I want to prepare this, so I need to, first thing I've got to do with it is I've got a great big pile of spoil up the front where I started, and because I've been digging back and throwing forward, I'm now left with a ditch down this end. So I've got to just try and level it out a little bit, and then we'll go on to the next thing. So I'm going to use one of these to do that. It's quite an efficient little tool. It's another hoe basically, but and it just basically hooks in and pulls the soil back. So I'm just going to, it also, as you go, it will start breaking down the clods that you've got. to be honest, I'm not 100% sure the next tool I've got is going to work, because the soil is really quite damp, especially close to this polytunnel, because obviously it's getting all the rainfall coming off of that, so it's keeping that side very, very damp. Worth remembering for next season, when I probably want to put some cauliflowers and things down there that do need a lot of water, because that will save me a lot of watering. Okay, let me just pull this back, so I ain't got to be too mad with it. Right. Didn't take too long to dig this over actually, it was very, very clean. I was quite surprised, so just goes to show that taking that time in your first season to really clean that soil out makes all the difference. There was hardly anything in it, so that's very pleasing. And hopefully I'm only going to have superficial sort of surface weeds next year. A lot of these other little roots are just from where the sweet corn was in. Again, they'll just rot down over winter. I'm not bothered about them at all. Finally, just pull that front back. It's amazing. No matter how much you clean soil out, you still find roots like that. Crazy. Right, nearly there. Just give it a rough level out. It doesn't really matter where I'm treading on this. It really is just sort of just to level it up a bit. Right, now I know you lot are thinking he's got to be crazy using that. I'm going to use this. I like these, I think they're great. I know they're not heavy duty and people will tell you need a rake on that. I just like these. Right, next tool. This has got to be my favourite buy of all time. I love this tool. It's made by Wolfgarten. If you've never heard of those before, well, in fact, go to the website. If you go to www.ukherewegrow.com, on the navigation bar at the top you'll see the tool shed. Click on that, takes you to the sub menu page, and in the middle you'll see tools. Click on that one and it'll take you to a page where there's loads of Wolfgarten tools. I think you can tell I'm a bit of a fan. Anyway, we're going to be using this. Now this is the Wolfgarten Miller. It's got a oscillating hoe. Now this sort of is quite sharp on there, believe it or not. And the main purpose of that is when it goes into the ground, it goes in at an angle and it drives the head down into the soil, and then these break it up and turn it into a very, very nice fine finish. Okay, so we've got that first. Now Wolfgarten also have lots of other different tools. They've all got that attachment on the end, every one of them, and that attachment is all that's the male side, there's the female end. This one here, I can't remember what the length of this pole is. It doesn't actually say on it. What is that? It's got to be about 5 foot, I suppose. So they do wooden ones, they do telescopic ones for the tree loppers and all that sort of thing. Really good. So this slots into there, and then I'm just going to start. I'm going to start at one end up here. What you do is you push it through, pull it back, push it through, pull it back. Okay, well there you go, it's done. How long has that taken? About an hour and a half, I suppose. I was very lucky though, because there wasn't too much weeds in there, but well pleased with that. Tomorrow, hopefully weather permitting, I shall be up getting my winter onions in. I've got a fantastic elephant garlic bulb that one of the plot holders gave me. I want to get that in as well. I know Tony might be doing a little video soon on onion and garlic planting, so watch out for that one. If you haven't joined up on our Facebook group, please do go over and have a look at that. You can find, in fact, all the links to all the different platforms we've got on the website, and that's www.ukherewegrow.com. We're open. It's gone global now, believe it or not. We've got people all over the world involved, which is absolutely fantastic, because we're really learning quite a lot about different methods of gardening, different climates, what works and what doesn't. So if you're interested in any of that, do come and see us in the Facebook group. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's sort of been a bit informative. It's my first sort of real video on my own, and who knows how it's going to turn out. Anyway, see you in the next one.